Hi folks, in this video we're going to discuss ways that you can keep your research a little more organized to take some of the frustration out of it. Over the years, some of the feedback that I've gotten from students and faculty in terms of what is hardest about doing research projects, especially large scale research projects, is managing all the information that you find. It can be really challenging sometimes when you have all these sources that you begin to find, and it's great that you're finding these because they're all helpful. But then as you do your research, you start realizing that you forgot where you saved the one resource and what did it say about what study. That's a problem that I have with my own research, is that especially for large scale lit review type research projects, is what studies said what, and what exactly was the thesis, and how do I locate it to write the bibliography. So it started out with how this spreadsheet started was I had to do a literature review for the library. We were studying student success rates and if they match what a lot of the literature says about student success and the library. So once I created this spreadsheet for that, it kind of started into more of an instructional tool for courses that I would teach, or one-shot classes that I would give. And then faculty started asking for it specifically for me to show their students as a way to manage their literature reviews for if it was an upper division class, or just as a way that they could get into good habits about keeping track of their resources. So then over the years, I've made it prettier, I've added to it, and so I'll go over in this video a little bit about it, different features about it, different places you can find notes if you forget some of the things I've said in this video. So we can get started on this this page, and this is just to be instructional. It reminds you to make a copy of it, otherwise you won't be able to edit it. So of course, just click on File, Make Copy, and then it'll just make a copy in another tab, and that one you'll be able to edit and do with it as you will. I put my contact information in case next year, or maybe even 5 years from now, if you're in graduate school and you just have a question about research or in general, and you remember that really cool librarian that you took a class from, there's my contact information. I put handy links towards all of our subject guides. Some of the more commonly used one from that I've created, the library homepage, Galileo, of course, and this right here, presentation. I usually use this spreadsheet as part of a presentation that I do every semester with the graduate school. And similar to my last video that I did, where there's a presentation, but I don't use it because it's a live demonstration. Same thing here. So it's just there I didn't take it out because why bother? You might find it helpful to save and then refer back to. So one thing to note, the blue colored tabs are blank sheets, and then the red tabs are examples. So that if you use this a year from now or even a month from now, if you need help remembering the purpose or why things are set up the way they are, you can have something to refer back to and jog your memory. So this is saving keywords. And I said in a couple of videos ago, it's a good idea to save your keywords that you use, because especially when you have to stop and start research as a student, you're doing research probably in between classes or in between stuff you have to do for life. And so it's not always easy to remember what that search term that, the set of words that you use that gave you a really good search result list, and you forgot to save it. So you're trying to find what words work and you're not finding the same results. And so this is a quick way to jot down really quickly different word or pairs of words that worked well together or what didn't work well together. So the concepts just means the first search term idea. So in this example, veterans is the concept. And oh, I should probably say, this is an example that I do in the graduate school presentation that I mentioned earlier. And the example that I use is service members telling their stories about the wars in Afghanistan. So veterans, the ors we talked about are just different ways you can say a word. So it broadens your search results because it'll search for veterans or service member and return in the search results list anything that has both of them, one or the other or both. Concept 2 is stories. Different words for that are testimonies and oral histories and so on. So, and includes all of the search terms going across, or is the synonyms. Obviously, you're not always going to use all 4 of them. I was just trying to fill it up for the example. You can also, of course, delete them all out to put your own for your own research in the blank form that I have for you. And you don't have to go all the way down or all the way out. And you might adapt it to fit your own needs as well. So, and I also put a checkbox feature here. It looks fancy, and also it reminds you to either, reuse these words, or if you find yourself using combat veteran testimonies and conflict didn't give you anything relevant to what you need for your research, it reminds yourself to not reuse those search terms, at least together. You can also add rows if you have more combinations that you use that you want to keep note of, stuff like that. Source list. This is for smaller scale projects when you don't necessarily need to remember necessarily every little part of the source that you found, like the methods used for original research or types of institutions that studied whatever your topic is. This is just to keep track of sources that you use. This is a completely made up source, so you can jot down the title. The drop down is the different type of source it is, when you accessed it, where you found it. So you can remember that, oh, it was a ebook versus a print book that was in the CSU collection. Or if you're going to different libraries, it reminds you where you used a print book, or maybe you need to travel to an archive to look at primary sources. A link that can be for a URL for a source that's online, or a permalink if you're using Galileo or the catalog. Remember, those you need the permalink, not the browser link. A citation. I said in an earlier video, it's good to copy and paste the citations, but double check it. Well, it would be so easy to just copy and paste it when you see it, paste it in here, and then when it's time to write your bibliography, double check it with Al Purdue, copy and paste it into your paper, and boom, you're done. Keywords, this is just a different way that you can keep track of your keywords that's a little less formal than using the sheet I just showed you. And of course, notes for whatever you want to jot down. It's hard to see because I used a darker background, but there's little notes that can, in some of them, that will tell you what the purpose or what the intended purpose is. Remember, adapt it, use it however you want. There really is no wrong way to do research or keep track of research. And this is an example of a few of the sources from a lit review a few years ago to show you kind of what it looks like in practice. So for my purposes, we were studying library usage and if it corresponds to student success rate. And so we needed to know, well, for me to write a literature review that reflects what the literature says about that topic or that idea, that even that it's written about, we needed to, I needed to be able to state what the literature exactly studied, the research questions that it had, the types of institutions that it studied. That was important so that we could compare the size of CSU to the findings of similar sized institutions compared to larger institutions and even smaller institutions. Sometimes that's not important, so you don't need this tab, but for that literature review, that's one thing we needed to look at. The methods, what they were looking at, data sets that they were going to need or they obtained and got information from. So usually that'll be a part of any research paper of how did they do the study. Findings, and I tried to keep everything in line with one another. If there was a corresponding method, if there was a particular finding, I tried to keep it like things with like things. And if the article had a reflection area where they jotted down important things to note about their work. Not all papers will have this. Often when an author makes a finding, they'll want to note to the reader, we found this about samples A and B, but if you want to look at D and C, our research won't reflect that. So it just notes that there might be a limitation or different ways that their study can be misread so that there aren't any false conclusions drawn from that. And then an area for additional notes, whatever works. And like I said, you can delete out, you can change these headers, you can delete the notes out. When in these are, oops, sorry. These are blank versions. So, feel free to make it your own or don't even use it if you have a system that works for you. My feelings won't be hurt. I just wanted to provide something that will help you in the research process with the actual process. What I'll also do in the learning management system is I will note some other software that I personally have used and find helpful. Not every system is right for the correct research project. For example, there's a software browser extension called Scribble, and that's really helpful when I prepared for this class because often I have to find fake news examples or memes or different, sort of sources of news that are biased. So it allowed me to save it a lot easier than copying and pasting the information into here. So I'll show you that. I'll provide that link as a way that you can you can check them out, and it might work for you. It may not. Scribble, what it's not good for is they have a feature that allows you to save journal articles, but it's clunky and the permalink doesn't always work. And it's kind of burdensome to have to download the article and upload it when you could just save a permalink to a spreadsheet. I find that easier. But whatever works for you. You can also create your own spreadsheet from scratch. I'll also provide links for Evernote. That's another source. That's more for taking notes. A lot of people find that very useful for research, how you're able to set tags and group different things with, group different information with, uh, tags, and it almost works kind of like a filing cabinet in a way. So that's it for ways to make your research a little easier with the actual process. If you have any questions, feel free to email me, and I will see you in air quotes in Cougar View. Okay, have a great day. Bye bye.